Welcome to the Capturelife Pulse Virtual Users Conference 2019. My name is T.W. Woodward, and I will be your host on today's journey. So why do we need a virtual users conference, and why do we need a company like Capturelife? In other words, why are you here today listening to this great lineup of industry leaders? I spent 20 years in the volume photo industry, specifically working on this digital transition. The common thread throughout today's sessions is that these speakers know that our customers are changing. And all of these forward-thinking photographers and lab directors and industry leaders are eager to meet the customer on their smartphones where they're connected to family and friends, sharing professional images and spending money. As professional photographers, we need to deliver what our changing consumers want, whether that's a print package or specialty products delivered right to their door, or a digital image, a choice of backgrounds, or a package of digital images. We not only need to deliver the products that they want, but we also need to provide the experience that our customers expect. And more, they're expecting the experience on a mobile device. I'm not going to go on and on here. If you want to hear me talk, I'm the host of the Hanging Pixels podcast. You can find the Hanging Pixels podcast on any client like iTunes or Stitcher or TuneIn or Spotify. Go out and listen to it. Today, I'm here to facilitate this program and let the wonderful lineup of industry leaders do the talking. But please stick around for the last session. That one's mine. I'm going to take you through the workflow of tomorrow. I'm actually going to take customer information, payment, and I'm going to snap the picture right from an iPad. And I'm going to use the new Capturelife filter pack to create rich content and deliver it right to a customer's smartphone, all in a matter of minutes. So enjoy the program and stick around to see what's coming right around the corner. This is an awesome workflow and a complete game changer. Today, we've got Gary Pageau from the Dead Pixel Society, who's going to give the State of the Industry address. We've got Derek Tyler from the Group Photographers Association talking about strategic value of digital products, specifically for labs. We've got Ryan Zapatka from Focused on Forever talking about how his company has curated the customer experience and added digital to enhance that overall experience. We've got Robert Ste Marie talking about the automation of in-app purchases on smartphones, as well as a program that's near and dear to his heart, which we're calling Backgrounds with a Cause, where some of the proceeds go back to a specific cause. Well, we're going to meet with Jim Alsup from LDS Photography about how he's used Capturelife to surge ahead of his competition in his area. We're going to talk to Kevin Cook about GFCrew and that model in conjunction with Capturelife events and how he's used that to enter the gig economy, specifically with youth action and event photography. We're going to talk as well with Walt Smith from Impact Images. Walt's out there pushing the envelope of what he can do with digital and how he's selling groups. And then finally, we'll get to that session, my session, where we'll talk about this workflow of tomorrow. So to kick it all off, let's turn it over to Gary Pageau from the Dead Pixel Society. Let's switch it over. Thanks for joining us, and I'll be with you throughout the program, so stick with us. You're going to enjoy it. Thanks. We're here with Gary Pageau from the Dead Pixel Society and from Info Circle LLC. Hi, Gary.
Hey, TW.
Briefly for our listeners or our viewers today, I should say, Gary and I have, he's been a guest on the Hanging Pixels podcast a few times. We've had a blast talking about trends in the photo industry, what we're seeing currently happening and how everything's moving forward. So we thought it would be a great idea here at Capturelife to have Gary come on and really set the tone for the Capturelife Virtual Users Conference for 2019. Gary, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, TW. It's great to be here.
I'm going to hand it off to you. And so, Gary, let it rip.
Okay. Well, if we want to move on to the next one, we're going to be talking about some industry trends, primarily to keep this within the time frame and to keep it kind of high level. We're going to be talking about the top 6 trends affecting the professional photography industry. So let's run to the next one. just a few things, again, trying to keep it high level so you can kind of plan your strategy and not necessarily get into the weeds of your tactical plan, but, kind of what's happening out there. And the 6 items that I've set aside for today's presentation are digital directions, consumer choice, the service economy, consolidation, investment, and smart pictures. And I think all 6 of these items will become increasingly important to school picture firms, volume photography firms, basically anybody who is in the photography business who is actually making it a business, right? You're not a person just shooting for fun or maybe throwing up a gallery here and there. So first, let's talk about digital directions. And next, there we go.
There we go.
So the thing that's really changed over the years is photography is really now a digital first phenomenon. Wasn't always that way, and in some cases the professional photography business has still kind of followed the analog paradigm of capture, process, proof, distribute, and share. I mean, it's kind of been along those models. And that's not necessarily been a bad thing, but what's happened now that we're in a fully digital environment, each one of those areas provides an opportunity for not only enhancement, but commerce and product offerings. And sometimes it's going to skip over different parts of those segments. For example, you may be into a situation where you're going to be involved in digital capture, let's say at a wedding, and it's going to go immediately to share because your value proposition to your brides and the groom is that you're just going to shoot some pictures and put them in a gallery, right? So that's the value proposition. In other photographers' value proposition, it's going to be, I'm going to capture, and then I'm going to process the images, and then I'm going to provide an output of some sort, whether it's digital or print. So what's happened is there's been different value proposition business and services that have been built up along taking advantage of all those different opportunities. For example, a few years ago, the moms with the cameras exploded in the pro photography space, and they basically sold value packages to brides where they would basically provide a USB or a CD or a DVD of images after the event. And then what happened is the brides realized they always intended to make some sort of photo album out of it, a wedding album of some sort, and they never did. And so there actually became sort of a cottage industry of labs or retailers or even photographers who would find these brides, and they called them orphan brides, and would actually create packages for them, right? So the idea there is that was something that never existed before. That was not something that, when the professional photography space existed, you never had someone go back into a photographer's finished photos and make something else out of them. So that's the sort of opportunity that may open up with digital is you now after capture, you can change backgrounds, you can add templates, you can add stickers or whatever the customer wants. And that's something that has really upset a lot of the traditional value in the market. For example, not any different than, say, how streaming has affected the music business, right?
Sure. And Gary, I'd argue that our consumers are getting used to that as an experience, the ability to use filters and overlays and stickers, like you said, and the instant sharing, the ability. These are some of the things, I think that's what you're alluding to here with these trends. Our consumers are getting used to it. And if we lag behind as professionals, we're going to run into some problems.
Well, they're going to expect it. It's going to be, table stakes for what the offering is. That's what they're going to expect to do. They want to meme it. They want to do different things with it. So
yeah, agreed.
So that kind of dovetails into the next slide, which is consumer choice. Consumers today are more knowledgeable than ever, thanks to the internet. They have more information than ever about making a buying decision than ever before. They know, in some cases, they even know the margin, right? So if you show up at a a wedding, for example, they know how much your Canon EOS cost and how much your lens costs. And so they figure, well, you ought to be charging X amount of money. And so the photographer is going to have to figure out, how to justify their value proposition, right? And a lot of photographers, you see, yes, I'm showing up and I'm photographing your event for an hour and a half, but I'm really bringing with me 10, 12, 15 years of experience, and that's what you're paying for. So, and I'm going to get into that a little bit. I just want to dwell on this consumer choice thing because I think it's important, because not only is that information about the business process available, but also about, ratings. Ratings are very important in service industries. And you have to be able to cultivate those ratings, and you have to be able to use them to your advantage, because that is, peer-to-peer ratings are very, very important for a consumer to choose when they're going to buy something. Most people just take it as a given that there's going to be a review of someone that they're going to partake with, especially when we've all seen the articles on Petapixel and whatever about the various photographers who, take on more business than they can, or they scam brides, and that makes the news, and that makes everyone look bad. So, that's part of being involved with having consumers choose you, is developing that reputation so that you can overcome the objections about you're too expensive, or you're not really as good as you think you are, or whatever. That's part of informing that consumer choice.
Yep. Understood.
So moving on, the other thing that's changing is the service economy aspect of it. Is that, as I mentioned before, you have to be able to not only sell the product, but the service and how you're providing it. Are you providing a digital option for your pictures? Are you letting mom or dad change the background on the school photo if they want? Are you letting mom or dad add a splash of color and a zigzaggy graphic to the kids' sports photos? Because that, in the photography business, there was much more concern about copyright back in the day, that whatever the photographer captured was sacrosanct. And that's still true. The law technically hasn't changed in the sense that it's still, unless the photographer gives away the rights, it's still their work. But the consumers aren't accepting that. They want to be able to do these things. So that's part of being a service in a commodity market. And unfortunately, photography has become somewhat of a commodity market, because everyone's got a camera, everyone's heard that, right? And you and I both can talk for ages about the difference between a DSLR and a mirrorless camera and an iPhone 11 and what the different capabilities between that. But, every time Apple comes out with an ad saying this ad was shot in an iPhone 11, yep, it kind of just disses, if you will, a DSLR or whatever, because you and I both know that, studio lighting and things like that really matter for a pro are very difficult to do with a smartphone, but you won't see that in an ad.
Yeah, I'd say this is the experience and expertise of the photographer more than anything. Those ads were shot with professionals that have been shooting videos for 20 years. Exactly. Exactly. I saw the robotic arms that they were using to move that phone around in that last video with Ariana Grande or one of those people, and it was like, man, that wasn't shot with an iPhone in a girl's bedroom, right?
Right, exactly. And again, it goes back to what I was saying before. You're talking about 10 to 15 years of experience brought that photographer to that point of shooting that video with that iPhone. So, we've all experienced the service economy, right? If you're feeling particularly self-abusive, you can have McDonald's delivered to your home via DealDash. Right?
That's right.
Although I do love my McRib. But even in photography, there are now services where you can rent a photographer, right? If you're having a family event, and as the consumer, you don't want to take time to worry about capturing the event. You can hire photographers for $50 to $75 an hour. There's a company called Sweet Escapes does this. There's a few other companies that do this, where it's basically, rent a photographer. And that's a great opportunity for, people to get their, learn their chops and actually suggest that actually capturing an event does have value. So I'm not knocking that at all. There are people who do because they don't like the hourly rate, or they don't think the photographer makes enough, or the photographer's excited. But at least it's saying there's a value to having the service, which I think is something, as the photography industry moves into this market, it has to be maintained that there's no freebies, right? Yep. I mean, everyone's seen, again, on the photography forums where somebody posts a message saying, take a ppicture of my blah, blah, and you'll get free exposure. And that's great. And it'll build your portfolio. All right. And, that's bunk for most photographers. They don't need that. So I don't know if TW wanted to add in on that. So,
you and I talked about this in the last podcast we did together, and I think this is going to be, you've hit on what's going to be a theme moving forward, which is the gig economification of the photo industry, right? Wow. And what you just said is anything move towards this gig economy, where in the gig economy is anybody can jump in their car and go make a few bucks with Uber, or with delivering groceries or delivering McDonald's from one house to another, right? That's the whole gig economy. What you just said is, if we go back to that last slide, when we're looking at the service economy and how photography and how professional photography fits into that, talking about trends right now, we are starting to see this trend towards the gig economy in the photo industry.
Exactly. Yeah. So the other thing that's affecting the professional photography is consolidation. I think there's no real secret that the capture side of the industry has exploded. There's whoever tries to figure out how many images are captured a year, it's what, 1 trillion or 2 trillion or what have you. And obviously the numbers of professional photographers has increased because everybody who has a camera thinks they're a professional, which, for the sake of this discussion, we'll all agree is not the case. Not everyone is a professional. So what happens in mature markets when there's overcapacity, that drives consolidation. And what you see is, and I'm speaking specifically about the output side of the business, is you see things like, as we mentioned, LifeTouch consolidated with Shutterfly. And that was primarily not necessarily because of professional photography, but because of the printing capacity of LifeTouch and the printing capacity of Shutterfly combined made for a compelling business. And, we're seeing that with other players in that space. RPI and Color Centric, who has, some professional customers, have also combined recently. And that's just something to keep in mind as, you're looking for partners or you're looking for output opportunities, that there's, you may have to keep your eyes open for other opportunities if your partner changes or if there's a buyout or something like that, because there's a lot of money out there, as we're going to talk about in the next slide. And those investors are looking for opportunities, and those investors will, make consolidation happen. So there's a lot of overcapacity in the printing market and the output market. And so that's going to drive consolidation, but it also, nice transition there.
Thank you.
TW. That investment is a great opportunity for this industry, because you're seeing venture capital firms, you're seeing private equity now investing into this market because they see there's an opportunity. It's not super sexy from a fintech standpoint or from a, standpoint of high technology or whatnot, because a lot of the technology has been proven. The business models may not have been, but there's no one who's going to come out with a device that's going to completely upend the market. That's probably not going to happen. So this is a very attractive market for investment because you have a product or service that is in high demand. Let's not forget, there is a demand for photography. How it's being fulfilled, what the business model is up for grabs. But people want photography. They want professional services, whether it's an event photo, whether it's a sports event photo, whether it's pictures at a wedding, whether it's something. People are now encountering professional photography much more than they ever used to. Now 10, 15 years ago, the only time you would ever encounter a professional photographer as an adult would be if you attended a wedding or if your kid had a school picture taken. Nowadays, there's digital business portraits. A lot of people have their business portrait taken every year, every 2 years. Back in the day, I remember that was one of the funny things about, you would go visit Eastman Kodak and they would have these badges with their professional portrait on it, so they could go to different parts of the building. And they always had like a portrait that was like 10 or 15 years old. That was like the joke, was how long can I keep my portrait? Nowadays, people, experience professional photography much, much more. So what investors are looking for in a lot of cases are customer touch points. How often can a portrait business or photography business or someone they're interested in investing in interact with a customer? Is it a one-off or is it a ongoing stream of potential revenue? And there's all kinds of opportunities for that. So that's something that I think is a good thing. Some people are fearful of equity investments and how that changes things, because certainly there is, we're seeing it right now with Life Touch and Shutterfly, where a lot of the Life Touch management has changed, and that's cause for concern for some people. But with change comes disruption. With disruption comes opportunity. So
I agree. Yeah, and we're seeing that with software as well, where private investment comes in and buys, say, image quicks and photo links, right, which directly affects the volume photography industry, this crowd that we're talking to today. And I certainly see consolidation happening, as you mentioned, on the production side. We're also seeing a lot of automation happening, right? And I would argue that you had mentioned that there might not be disruptive hardware. I would argue that smartphone in mom's pocket is the biggest disruptor that this industry has seen, much more so than digital cameras, right? And again, hence this whole users conference, hence Capturelife coming into the forefront of digital delivery. And the reason why we're having this conversation today, I think, is in large part due to how do we get mobile, how do we get to where mom is, and how do we get to where these trends are going, right?
Right. So it kind of dovetailed on that. I wasn't arguing about, yes, smartphones are a huge impact. My contention was, they're 10 years old. So
yeah, understood.
So the buy-in there, in fact, that's one of the big challenges the smartphone makers is they've reached saturation to some extent. And what's interesting is the big distinguishing factor between the Google Pixel, the iPhone, the Samsung Galaxy, and some of the others isn't the call quality.
Right. Nobody calls anymore.
It's the camera. Yeah. That's what they're promoting, basically. I mean, all these companies are basically camera companies that happen to have a SIM chip in them. So,
and Gary, the gear up, I feel, is as we move towards faster and faster mobile networks, you're going to see the hardware on the phones is now capable of doing whatever. I mean, there are as many processors and as much RAM on phones as there are on laptop computers.
Sure.
And so I think we're kind of waiting around for how can we make these things connect faster and make this data pass back and forth faster. I think that's what's going to drive the next trend is going to be our ability to connect and consume faster over these networks. And photography is a big part of that.
Sure. Because I mean, here's a good scenario, right? I mean, with 5G coming, myself being in Michigan, I hear a lot about the impact of 5G on the auto industry, because that's really what's going to drive self-driving cars is you're going to be able to have constant real-time updates of traffic and situations. So a lot of that, the brain power of a smart car is going to be uploaded into the cloud. So to that extent, let's say you're a school photographer or a sports and event photographer. You've shot juniors' football game. What's to stop those pictures from that event? When mom gets in her car to leave, they're on the dash of the car, and either on that big screen like a Tesla has, and mom can share them right there. It's like, boom, it's on their car. Maybe that's I don't know if cars are going to have wallpaper on their screens, probably, But, you know, so that's that, and that immediately, that, you know, there's going to be no such thing as lag time when 5G comes
right.
in.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, you're going to talk to your grandkids. I remember when there was lag time. You had to wait 10 seconds for something to show up.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Which I think it speaks to another of the trends.
Sure.
Immediacy, right? Like, I don't know how long we can move forward with this next generation of consumers where everything is immediate, right?
Right.
Even delivery of Amazon to my door, right? I mean, I can go on Amazon right now here in Minneapolis, and there's a giant warehouse in one of the suburbs. They can guarantee it to me by this afternoon, right? Groceries are the same way. I don't know how long we can get away with saying it's going to take 3 weeks, right?
Right. Yeah, that's and remember, one thing to keep in mind is Amazon is setting the standard for the shopping experience, right? People are being trained by Amazon that this is how you do e-commerce. So if you're not following that model, if you're not as quick and easy as Amazon, people are going to go somewhere else. That's just the reality. So moving on to our last item, if we can, because we've got to go back. There we go.
Operator error.
So the last piece, which is very important, it kind of dovetails on what you're saying about, kind of what's coming. There's a lot of information that's within a picture that can create other opportunities, and that includes artificial intelligence, digital storytelling, other things. We're starting to see that in some of the vendors who show up at things like SPAC and things like that, where you can create a digital yearbook automatically with the content of a picture, right? You can group pictures of the same child together and things like that. But I think it's even going to go farther, where it's going to get into scene recognition, where professional photographer is going to shoot photos of a wedding, and he'll upload it to his gallery service, and the gallery service will say, this kind of looks like a wedding. There's this main figure who's in white, and so we're going to create an automatic product, whether it's an online gallery, whether it's a photo book, and it'll be all themed on a wedding, and the photographer won't have to do much.
Full on automation of these processes, right?
Right, and it'll be really good. It'll be as good as what a human being can do.
I think it's really interesting to think about the content of a picture itself. And I think any of us that have done any poking around has seen what Google's capable of doing, just reading pixels in an image, right? And going, I know what this is. They've been doing it for years now.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're in a world where facial recognition is basically very rudimentary, right? In terms of, everything's got it.
Yeah.
Right? It knows where a face is, but then you get into the next level, which is quality, identification. Who's in the picture? Are they happy? Are they sad?
Right.
And, so all of those factors coming in are going to enable storytelling to an extent that is beyond what we can offer now.
Yeah, and certainly beyond what we can offer, just because of the sheer labor that's involved and and the cost the price somebody's willing to pay for that type of product. You turn this into an automated system, and these products are going to start selling. That definitely, in my mind, is what this next iteration of professional photography and selling in the professional photography market is going to look like.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, it's. I mean, you see it happening now with. Music streaming. They will not only pair artists by what you've liked in the past, but they'll kind of gauge in, what kind of mood are you in, and use their algorithm to steer you that way. Do you feel like bouncing around the house? Do you need to study? And, pretty soon they're going to start saying, okay, you listen to this kind of music this time of day in this location. This is what I'm going to present to you. Yeah. It'll be like, photography is going to be the same way.
Beautiful. Yeah. Very good insight.
And Gary, that's what I've got.
That's what you've got. As always, I appreciate it. I think our listeners our viewers today are certainly going to appreciate your take. You've been in the industry a long enough time. You've seen these trends come and go. You've seen companies giant companies fall apart and small companies turn into big companies. It's again, you mentioned it earlier, you can either take this and it can be a fearful moment, right? This can be scary, or you
Right.
can embrace it and go, this is a wonderful time of change and automation. And as you mentioned, storytelling. As professional photographers, we're all storytellers. We're trying to tell a story of a moment in time,
Mm-hmm.
or a series of images that are describing a moment of time, such as a
Mm-hmm.
wedding, whatever it might be. And really, I think we're on the cusp of taking this to the next level of that whole storytelling process.
Exactly. Anyway,
Thanks again. Yeah, thanks, Gary. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you coming on, and we're going to head to the next segment.
All right. Thank you much. Take
All
care.
right. Bye. Thank you, Gary. We appreciate having you on. You have a tremendous perspective of this industry. And I think you and I both agree it is a time of tremendous opportunity. Before I hand this off to Jeff Eckerly, one of the co-founders of Capturelife, and Derek Tyler from GPA, I just want to make a brief statement, take it or leave it. But this is my opinion. No one photographer or lab or software company is going to solve the issues that we face in the professional photo industry right now. The consumer is changing rapidly, and I have a hard time believing that any one of us by ourselves is going to figure out where the consumer is going and how we're going to keep pace. The beauty of modern software companies is really a concept called the Open API. I'm not going to bore you with geek speak. I can go in that direction as well. But really, Capturelife being an open API, what it means is that other software companies like PhotoLinks Flow and Rose and Kodak DP2 can plug right in. I mean, we're working with 18 pro labs around the world. We've got large independent photographers. We've got automation companies coming on board with automated camera triggering. We've got resorts companies. You name it. What's the driving force behind all of this is Capturelife's open API architecture, meaning whatever the workflow is, if you developed it yourself or if you're a large lab that's been operating for years and years, we've got ways just to plug this in so photographers can deliver that incredible consumer experience. Just really, it doesn't take long these days to connect, ramp up, and get everybody on board. So that said, I'm now going to hand off to Jeff Eckerly and Derek Tyler. Jeff, take it away.
To further the point of integration with industry leaders, I want to introduce Derek Tyler, General Manager at GPA, a leading professional print lab focused on youth sports photographers. Derek, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Now, GPA was the first print lab to integrate with Capturelife back in 2016, and the photographers there have been delivering digital images through Capturelife the last few years. So, Derek, the key question I want to kick off with is, why is a professional wholesale sports print lab like GPA embracing digital offerings?
Well, the first part of that answer, Jeff, is a business philosophy. So for 24 years since I've been at the company, we've been on the leading edge of technology. We're not afraid to try new things. And digital delivery wasn't a new thing for us. We've been doing it in CDs and websites, web downloads. But the digital delivery through the smart devices was new for us. So when Capturelife came along, it was just a natural progression of things in our philosophy.
Got it. Well, I know I appreciate when we go back and think about 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago when we first met, how you did embrace that and have that innovative spirit. And it's fantastic to see in this industry. But, just doing it's one thing. What are some specific benefits now that you've been doing it for a few years, working with Capturelife, that you've seen for your GPA photographers?
Well, the benefits are we're staying involved with our studios and we're keeping them involved with their clients. As a wholesale lab, some wholesale labs kind of lose touch of what's going on in the retail environment, and GPA is not like that. We've always been in close contact with our studio clients. We listen to them, we listen to their consumers, the customers, the parents. And so we really just want to give them what they want. I mean, sales and marketing is that easy. Give the people what they want, and you go from there. Is it dangerous? Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we step back and we think of what we're trying to accomplish. And what we're trying to accomplish is an evolution of the youth sports photography market. So we're taking prints and selling prints and putting them in packages, and then we're looking at digital and realizing that what parents want is something more than just a print. And so we create a balance of that. And that balance is bundling print and digital.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. And, that's really what everybody's going to hear later on, from other speakers and other sessions today, is how bundling print and digital can open up so many more opportunities with the digital capabilities that Capturelife brings to the table. So as you start thinking about unlocking the future and the potential of GPA and Capturelife digital images delivered and so forth, the relationship we've formed, what are some things you can share about where you'll be going next?
Well, where we're going next, before I go into where we're going next, let me back up to what Capturelife brings to the table. And for us, it brings a complete system where we can get into digital delivery through smart devices and then take that system and translate it to our studio clients and make it easy for them. So Capturelife's really made it easy for us to get into this marketplace. So when we started this 4 years ago, part of that being important on the front end of that is to get some experience and get some test marketing done and use those 3-4 years to get us where we are today. And where we are today is understanding what parents want and how we can combine print and digital and how we can combine those things where parents are seeing them in the marketplace to purchase them. So what we've done is test market over the years. And this past year, we tried something new with our largest volume client. And what they did is they put the digital delivery, the Capturelife digital delivery, in all of their packages except for the least expensive. So what that did is created a threshold for parents so they could say, oh, for X amount of dollars, I can get a print package plus a digital delivery, and I'm happy doing that. And what we saw when we looked at those results this year is the studio photographer was able to increase their sales average 40 cents a kid. So when you multiply that 40 cents a kid by, say, 40,000 individuals that you photograph throughout the year, that's $16,000 of basically free money that was in their pocket. All they had to do was offer the digital delivery of the Capturelife product, what we call it, in with the prints and those packages, and the money just took care of itself.
That's fantastic. Fantastic, Derek. We love stories like those, of course. Well, Derek, thanks a lot for your insights today. And of course, thank you for all the years, the relationship with Capturelife. We really enjoy working with GPA and your photographers.
Jeff, I appreciate everything that you and your team does. And I look forward to the continued partnership moving forward and realizing the short-term and long-term marketing goals. So thanks for your time.
All right. Well, while it's time for me to wrap up for now, I strongly encourage you to keep listening to the following sessions. What we've covered in this session has really just been our message that we've been giving since we started. Stay tuned for the upcoming sessions focused on unlocking new technology and new revenue, but only if you deliver digital images. TW, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Derek. We really appreciate your perspective coming from the lab. Again, Capturelife is this open platform, and again, this is an example of how we've got different companies all in the same industry trying to solve some of the issues that we face collectively. I'm going to hand it over to Scott Diffusco now. Scott's the other co-founder of Capturelife, and he's going to introduce Ryan Zapatka from Focused On Forever. Scott, take it away.
Hi, folks. This is Scott Diffusco with Capturelife. And for this segment, we want to focus on consumer trends that are driving our industry. And we get this information from a variety of sources, the hundreds of thousands of parents that use the Capturelife platform to consume the information that you as photographers and labs deliver. We get this feedback from you all and what you hear from customers, but also just general industry insights. And really, it's no surprise what these trends are and how they're being driven. You know, consumer behavior has changed dramatically, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, and the players on the left have been a big part of that. If you look at Amazon this holiday season, it's just amazing. We're down to 1-day shipping now. And the amount of consumption of online shopping and delivery of goods is exploding. Or you look to the streaming wars with Netflix. We now have new players in the market with Disney Plus and Apple entering it. So there's an arms race there. But let's look at it in the context of the photography industry and what we're hearing. And these are not all the trends, but these are some of the critical ones that are driving, the consumer and driving us as businesses to adapt. One is the consumers clearly saying they want choice. They want to make sure that they have, products that are available at their discretion. They want it, the whole experience from the shopping to the delivery to the support to be convenient and simple. That's pretty obvious. They also want quality of product is as important as it's ever been, but they also want quantity. I mean, look at the streaming services and how they have to keep up with the insatiable appetite of consumers just wanting more. And they want it now. I mean, this 1-day delivery from Amazon is a great example. They're setting the tone and the expectations for consumers that we now have to meet that goal. And they want it mobile and they want it digital. They also want print. So no one's saying they don't want print. They want both. So with us today is Ryan, owner of Focused On Forever, Ryan Zapatka. His company, when I heard him speak recently, I thought they have adapted their business to these trends and are thriving. So I wanted to hand it over to Ryan to really provide some more context here from his business's perspective. Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me today. My name is Ryan. I'm from Focused On Forever Studio, and we are here in South Florida. And only quiet place I could find today in the studio. We're all set up for all of our Christmas sessions we've been doing over the last 2 weeks or so. So super busy at the office, as I imagine most of you guys are back home as well. So I wanted to share 5 different points of things that we're incorporating within our studio that Scott had mentioned in terms of really having a really boost and a successful fall that we've had this year, and that's been trending for us the last several years. We now have about 55 schools. We grow slow here at the studio. We try not to add too many schools per year. 5 to 8 schools per year has been our growth average, and that's a happy growth speed for us. One of the things that makes us a little bit different than I would say most school photographers out there is the fact that we give our parents lots of choices. We're not a prepay studio. We are a proofing scenario studio. So everyone gets photographed at the schools in fall and spring for their individuals. And we give the parents the ability to choose their poses online when they place their order. We do still send home some envelopes, but 85% of our ordering is online. And we give the parents multiple poses to choose from. So we've kind of gone away from that stereotypical one yearbook mugshot type of scenario. We've never done that at our studio. We're about 7 years into school photography, and we've always offered our parents those options and those choices. And that's always added up for us to be successful, to sell more packages, more poses. Our average tends to be around 1.4 to 1.6 poses per order, so the parents are ordering multiple poses. We don't let them pick their yearbook image or anything like that. The standard #1 pose for yearbook is automatically entered into yearbook for fall. That would be kind of messy otherwise, but a majority of our orders are incorporating our additional designer poses that we do. So choice is a big factor for us and our parents to be able to choose the best smiles, the best inner expressions that we're getting from each child. And a lot of times, if they go through a retake session, they are sometimes ordering from the retake from one child and from the main session from the first child to make sure they're getting the best options for all of their poses and prints. One thing that also Scott mentioned was convenience. For us, we've been very technological heavy in terms of making sure our parents have the ability to proof online, to order online, to be previewing their images and their proofs via their phones and their digital tablets and devices. So as I mentioned earlier, about 85% of our parents now order online. That's mainly because about 90% of our schools, we only offer that option. We've kind of converted them all. They're used to how our proofing works, where they'll go online, they'll view the multiple images, and it's so much cleaner when they place that online order because they get a digital receipt. If there's an error, they notice it right away when they get the email confirmation. And it makes things just so much cleaner on the back end when our customer support staff is pulling up an order number or anything like that. It's very easy for us and for our clients and our parents. It all kind of starts when they get the text message from us notifying them that picture day is tomorrow, what to wear, here's what the backgrounds are going to be, etc. We kind of give them tips and kind of get them excited about portrait day. That's kind of step one. That comes via text. So again, starting with very convenient for the parents to be getting that right on their phones. Then after the photo day, we do still print our proofs, mainly on 8.5 by 11 flyers that have the proofs printed on them. Some of them, like I said, still get envelopes, but that's a slim number now. But then they all go online to view. So it's very convenient for them to go online, view all the poses, pick their favorite poses, place their order, and everything's kind of digitally done onto their credit card. It's so much cleaner that way. And then when we go to deliver the prints, that's obviously sent either to their home or to the school. And then for our digital delivery with Capturelife, that also turns into being very convenient for them. They get the text, they're used to the app, they open the app and the pictures are just right there. It's super simple and super easy for the parents really to not have anything go wrong. It's kind of foolproof when it comes to that digital delivery through Capturelife. And then each season, they just keep adding to their galleries on Capturelife. So it's all in one place. We've had people get new phones, they re-download the app or we re-notify them, they install the app and all their images are there and they're happy campers. So that convenience factor has been a major plus for all of our parents moving on from season to season and how they just get used to that convenience factor. In terms of going back to what I said about poses, kind of leads us to our third topic, which is quantity and quality. We're providing our parents each season with different images. It's not a headshot with a different background, and that works in some cases, but for us, we kind of take it to the next level. We want to make sure that our parents are getting unique sets. My wife is one of our lead artists. She's her and I are the owners of the studio, and she really works on a majority of the set designs and the background choices before the season starts. That happens months before because we have to plan that to go on to our announcements. We have to order multiple backgrounds or props or whatever we're doing for, say, that spring, typically 3 or 4 months ahead of time. So our gear logistics supervisor can get all of our equipment for our multiple teams ready to go for season. So that all kind of happens in the background. We work hard because with our proofing method, we really got to knock it out of the park. So we got to make sure that these backgrounds are and our setups are appealing, they're different, they're cutting edge, and really giving our parents multiple different choices to say, hey, I bought fall, do I need to buy in spring? And then they see the images and they're like, wow, this is much different. This is really cool. We need to buy these too. So it's not just a one season kind of thing or a once a year type of decision. We're constantly picking ideas up, saving them in our idea folders throughout every year so that when we're sitting down with our whole team, that we can kind of determine what's going to be best. We take the level of quality in terms of our lighting and the staff that we hire for our photographers to make sure they're getting top-notch photography, because that all adds up to more sales when you're selling, and then when you're even post-selling after you deliver the digitals, that adds to higher reselling through the Capturelife app and through even reorders after the case. So I guess the point is, great images, great background sets, and a lot of thought can add up to big numbers when you're doing a lot of school and a lot of volume. One thing that we also have worked with quite a bit this season and kind of put a lot of thought into is our speed of delivery. I guess we call it the Amazon effect. I've been an Amazon Prime member for years, and now it's like one day they're like stupid fast. And the mentality of parents and just buyers in general is it shouldn't take that long. So we've just this season sped up our delivery, our processing, our proofing times by several days. And we know that it's even not quick enough. And so we have plans kind of rolling into action for the spring and for next fall to even speed up our proofing, our digital delivery, in terms of us processing our orders faster and getting everything out, print and digital, even faster as it kind of moves from season to season. So I would definitely challenge all of our photographers, and there's definitely a lot of studios I've talked to, they blow my mind in terms of how fast they're getting things out. For us, we go through a couple extra steps in terms of our editing and quality control before it gets released with our proofing, but there's a lot of photographers really doing a great job at that, and that's one job that our studio is definitely paying attention to, is making sure we're getting through things as fast as possible. And the digital delivery helps with that, because if they want it fast, I can't get them a print in 5 seconds, but we can get them an immediately processed Capturelife order if they need it now really quick. So that's definitely a benefit of digital delivery. With that said, prints are obviously extremely important revenue generator of every portrait studio. That's kind of always been our main product that we've sold is print packages along those lines. And what we've realized is that by combining what now is a much more in-demand digital product with print products, it's been really, really successful for us in terms of adding the digital to print orders or vice versa. So we have several preset collections that we have. So when a parent goes online to buy, one of our most popular packages is our package A. It's right out in front as the first package. It is the most expensive package because they get print rights and they get the shared, digital files to do as they wish with. And for most of our schools, that ranges between $75 and $95, just depending on the price levels that they are in different districts. And that gives them access to all 4 or 5 poses that we photograph. So it's a popular package, and we have repeat parents that buy that every single season. Our goal is to photograph at least 3 great images that they can't part with, and then it just makes financial sense in terms of how we create our packages to go ahead and go with that digital buy all package. We also have a print all package because we had parents wanting prints of all the poses. So we've created a print all package. That's our package B. And then we had parents say, well, I kind of want the digital and the prints. And so now we have, and we have had for several seasons, a print and digital buy all ranging from $100 to $145 depending on the school. And they get a set of prints and they get the digitals, because you never know what they want now and what they'll need later. And I think a lot of parents are now thinking about that. They really want the prints now, but then in 10 years, I'm going to kind of want those digital files too. And then we have parents that kind of think backwards on that, and they want the digitals now and maybe they'll do the prints later. So those packages are popular. And then what's worked really well for us is doing the digital add-ons. So every print package now, whether they're buying 2 5x7s and 4 wallets, or a package that's got an 8x10 and 2 5x7s, we give them the option online to add the digital file for a discounted price. So in many scenarios, instead of $35 for the digital file that we sell at, they can add it for only $20 to their print package. And the numbers on that have been really good for us in terms of parents adding that digital to their print package. So they have to make that choice. It's not something they can just ignore. It pops up and asks them if they want prints only or if they want to add the digital for $20. When we added that feature, that was an idea from another fellow photographer that we network with, and it's worked really well. And I want to say probably about 15 to 20% of the parents add that digital on, which with the amount of orders that we do is a good amount of extra digital orders that we now sell with that add-on. So now that the parents know that they can do it, it's kind of an easy choice each season to get the print and the digital together. And I would challenge a lot of photographers, as they start going through your package scenarios for your next seasons, to really strategically think of how that digital needs to be placed in your packages. Certainly don't give it away at a low value, charge for that digital. That's something that we believe in. Other photographers might add it on to certain packages to get their minimum order up a little bit, in which case maybe they're not really giving it away or adding it for free. They're kind of charging for it subliminally in terms of a higher package price. But however you do it, kind of think of the strategy of making sure you value those digital files and use them as a revenue generator for your studio, because moving forward, it's only going to get heavier and heavier in terms of digital. So having a good financial plan in terms of your packages and still making sure you're generating the revenue per event that you need and per sale, that'll all add up to a larger average sales for you, as it has for us. And we hope that you kind of make sure that you think about that a lot when you're creating all your new packages from season to season. But thanks to Scott and the team for having me today. Hope you guys picked up a few things from how we do things here at Focused On Forever here in South Florida. And thanks again for having us. And we wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all of you and your families.
Thank you, Ryan. We appreciate having you on board. I'm going to hand this back to Scott to talk about the new Capturelife Marketplace, and then on to Robert Ste Marie from 36 Pix. Robert's segment is an excellent example of how Capturelife's open API invites all companies into the Capturelife ecosystem to create this collective offering of the best digital content that can be sold directly to customers or used to create awesome customized photo products in the print store. And again, provides customers this modern mobile experience where these products are shipped right to their door. Scott, handing it back to you.
Hi, folks. Scott Fusco here with Capturelife. And in this segment of the Pulse conference here, I wanted to focus on the Capturelife Marketplace, but really the focus is on how to use the marketplace to drive additional sales from your customers after you've delivered their original content that they purchased. So really great opportunity to drive a whole new incremental line of revenue. And here's what we're going to be discussing in this segment. One is I'm going to give you just a very quick overview here of the Capturelife Marketplace. You may have read about it in some of our campaigns that we've put out describing it, but there's a lot to it, and I just want to give you a real quick summary of what it is. Second, and most exciting, is Robert Ste Marie from 36 Pix, who is a partner with us in the marketplace, is going to be providing an overview of the products they're bringing to market with us. So really excited to see that. And then I'm going to do a demo of that so you can see what it is live, how it works, and what the consumer experience is. So I'm going to jump right in and really talk about, this is the sort of the old way of engaging with the customer and really not engaging with them at all except around that initial purchase. So the old model is around selling a package to them that is prints only and maybe a digital download or a CD or thumb drive or an email of their digital file if you happen to be selling that as part of their initial order. Well, the problem with that is it's a dead-end transaction. They download the image through a digital download. You have no ongoing connection with that consumer. You cede the relationship to the school, and it's virtually impossible to drive additional sales, whether it be print products or whether it be digital products. So the Capturelife model changes all that. And this is not to be a sales pitch specifically on Capturelife, but to really set up the opportunity of what the marketplace is. So when you bundle digital with your print sales up front, you deliver the digital with Capturelife. And so you're landing on that consumer's phone with the app experience. You're connected. You stay on their phone. If you look at the stats down below on the right, 90% of all the Capturelife consumers are using it on mobile. They have the choice to use it on web or mobile, and they choose mobile. So we know that's the trend. And we're still on 70% of the phones that we've ever landed on, which means you're staying connected to those customers. Your content, your brand, additional sales are only a tap away from that customer. And 25% of those people who use the app are inviting one or more people into the whole Capturelife experience. So now friends and relatives are seeing your brand and they have the opportunity to buy more. And that correlates directly with our in-app purchases. With a quarter of the purchases that happen in our apps are happening from someone other than the original customer, grandma, grandpa, brothers, sisters, other friends and family members. And the other key thing to remember is this content builds over time in a timeline of their school and youth sports portrait memories. So that's always more opportunity as this timeline grows to purchase more and more over time. So the power of Capturelife is, we have the ability to engage them with marketing to try to drive behavior, drive them into the store. There's social sharing, like we just discussed, to bring more buyers in. We've always had a very strong print store to drive sales of additional print products by just having the print store tap away with these personalized products that get delivered to home. But what the Capturelife Marketplace represents is the ability now for us to sell additional digital products after we land on that phone with that initial order, to turn that one capture, two poses, whatever it is that you shoot, into additional digital products that you can sell at the price that you want to sell them for right in our app. So an incredible opportunity. And what the marketplace represents is two categories of products. Think of this as the app store for digital photography. So not only are we introducing products ourselves into the marketplace, for example, the ability to purchase different backgrounds if you happen to shoot green screen, or image transformations with overlays and other really slick transformations to images. And TW will be showing some of that a little later. But what's really exciting is we're opening up the marketplace to third parties like 36pix and Vimeo are our first two partners. And that's what we're here to show you today with Robert Ste Marie, is our integration with 36pix. So we are very excited that our first Capturelife Marketplace partner is 36pix. Many of you work with 36pix today and rely on their incredible technology and services for your business. And here to introduce our partnership and the exciting products we're bringing to market is Robert Ste Marie. He's the president and CEO of 36pix. And after Robert's overview, I'll provide a quick demo of how this all works. So Robert, thanks for being here and welcome to Pulse.
Thanks, Scott. This is Robert from 36pix. Today, I'll take a few minutes to discuss how using good backgrounds or good content can increase your sales. And I'll also touch on how we use e-delivery to also increase our sales. So maybe before I get into that, maybe a quick word about 36pix. We do green screen and blue screen for the school and sports industry. We do about 15 million images a year. What you might not know is that we're also a school photography studio in Montreal, Canada. And we do approximately 350,000 kids. And the data that I'll share with you today is based on firsthand experience. So, so where I start today is we start with our great extraction. So we have the extraction, we spend the money, we went into the school or at a sports event, we took some pictures. So those are the assets now that we have in our hands. So how do we maximize the sales with those assets? Obviously, more content is equal in all cases more sales, but it's got to be the right content. Having the right content, something that's compelling, will not only help you sell picture packages or more picture packages. Also, what we found is that when you have really cool content, that usually also brings up your sales for associated photo products like mugs and magnets and bookmarks and so on. A little note on mugs. Mugs is it's kind of an interesting product because everybody hates to produce them and ship them. They're heavy, but it's always been a great product for us. This year, again, we'll sell way over 10,000 mugs. Mugs work really well with cause-related imagery as other cool imagery. So now we have those great images of the kids that we took into the school. We want to sell more picture packages. But what's kind of what's been working really, really well for us is that having access to good backgrounds, good content, usually pushes the customer to buy more than one package, or buy what we call a custom package where they can mix and match image size and backgrounds and so on. So for us, having good content not only pushes the sale of the original picture package, but also potentially multiple packages, custom package or split package where you can choose more than one background. Now let me get into why background selection matters. And to illustrate that, I'm going to show you a stat that I came upon last year. And like any data, when you see data, there's always a surprise in it. And this was really surprising to me. And this is really a typical example. It's not unique. Most of them have similar statistics. Out of a school of 350 students, 165 different backgrounds were selected. I'll grant you that a lot of them are onesies, but it goes to show that parents love backgrounds. Parents love digging into backgrounds, because to actually select for all these backgrounds to be selected, that means that there was pretty deep dive into our background selection, background catalog. But that goes to show that parents do care about background and how their kids look on them. Now, let me talk about the importance of background stats. This is one thing that I've realized in our industry over the last few years, is that background is often a second thought, something that's more sure to find the right background, offer the right background. A lot of our green customer ask us about backgrounds. And as an example, if you want to run a successful restaurant, you have to know what you're selling, and you have to know what's selling on your menu, because what's not selling on your menu, you should take it off and replace it with something that's selling. And I found that this was a really good analogy to our industry, because I find that a lot of us are not exactly sure what sells or what doesn't sell on a real-time basis. So how many of you out there actually know what your top 5 backgrounds are? Maybe some of you do, some of you don't. But I would dare to say that probably most of you are sure of what's actually selling or not selling, or it's something you do just at the end of the season when the sales are long gone, long behind you, and you've lost that 3 months of potentially increasing your sales. So here's some of our top backgrounds. What I did here, I kind of took the top 5 backgrounds per categories of background. So I have starting top left, we have what we call the studio line, then we have school life, then traditional, the blue, then we have textures, which here it's a paint brick wall, and little word on brick wall. Brick walls somehow always sell very well, but we like having some new textures, some fresh stuff to show every year, every season, and switch it up. Also, where one thing that we've been pushing pretty hard over the last few years is we're associated now with four nonprofit organizations. We have our 3 professional sports teams in Montreal. We have the Montreal Canadiens hockey team. We have our football team, the Alouettes, and we have the MLS soccer team, the Impact. And we support their nonprofit organization. And where this gets really fun is that it allows you to go a bit deeper in just a simple background. It allows you to put messaging. You can do templating and really customize those products with cool imagery. And these are things, I was talking about mugs before. These are things that work really well with photo products. So that's been our experience working with nonprofit. And by the way, at SPAC, I have a presentation on the Friday morning, and I'll be giving a lot more data about all of this if you're interested. So let me talk a little bit about e-delivery. I try to condense everything we do in 2 lines here, but it's kind of important. One of the things that we started doing now, I believe, is it our 2nd or 3rd year? I think it's our 2nd full year on our text SMS product, which is basically like an e-wallet type product where parents, after they bought a package, can actually spend an extra, I think it's $4, $2 or $4 to get that image sent to their phone. So again, just to be clear, you have to buy a package first, because we didn't want to cannibalize our first sale. So that's only accessible once you've bought a package. But even if people have bought a package, 8% of them will actually get that extra image, which is basically an 8% of sale that you would have never seen before. And 8% is on volume. Another surprising element is that 8% of all sales, actually, the parents will pick one of our causes, and our causes usually contribute $2 to the organization, nonprofit organization. And where this gets really interesting is that we have statistics that I'll share at SPAC that when typically people that contribute to causes actually buy bigger packages or more elaborate packages, because sometimes they want the package related to the cause, but they'll want one of the traditional also backgrounds. So our, not only we're contributing to all these great causes, but we're also generating more sales. So everybody wins. We're making the world a better place, and we're making our businesses better at the same time. One thing that we will be pushing out in 2020 is our video product line. And this is really cool. It's something I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to find a way to bring video into our industry without having to create more assets, having to do video on site, or having to take different pictures. So where this whole thing started, in support again of one of the causes, we wanted to have a video product. We wanted to have the imagery and the message. So we went on to a journey of creating this 2-minute video to talk about Antarctica and the importance of protecting our ocean. So this is the Ocean Unite cause, which is one of our causes. And we, as you'll see in a few seconds, we decided to use an avatar to customize the video with the face of the child. A little note on that, I'll talk a little bit more about that at SPAC. We're planning to release a series of these shorter, it's going to be shorter videos, probably in 10 to 20 seconds, because we find that this will be the perfect product to be delivered electronically next year and to be shared on social media. So let me, if you can bear with me for 2 minutes and watch this video, and then I'll come back to you.
Can I ask you to join and take a breath with me? Inhale nice and deep. There's something we'd like you to see. That every breath, no matter where you may be, has oxygen in it that is provided by the sea. Not only that, our oceans feed us too and maintain our climate, keeping our planet nice and blue. But our ocean is changing. It's not always as it's been, and our impact is being felt whether or not it's being seen. So something must be done. What is it, you ask? I've got a solution for you if you're up to the task. Today, less than 4% of our ocean stands significantly protected, and we need much more than this for our impact to be corrected. And though this may be tough for us to understand, to be most healthy, our oceans need a break from man. There is an icy place that lies vastly untouched, and we have our eyes on the goal to leave it as such. Antarctica, holding sources of the ocean's foundation, a place so vast, though not even a nation. By proclaiming a space that humans cannot go, we'll have the opportunity to give the Southern Ocean plenty of space to thrive and grow. But to commit to maintaining the ocean in all of its glory, we need you to be a part of the story. To harness social media and help make the world more aware, for we believe if more people knew, more people would care. For every voice and every mind and every group and every kind. Act we can do for this place that is blue. It's desperately needed so that me and you can keep the ocean healthy, penguins gliding, and the ice frozen, and the fish multiplying. So tell your friends, co-workers, families, neighbors, prime ministers, senators, presidents, and mayors. We need everyone on board to protect the Southern Ocean territory. And to make it all happen, we need you to dive in, to be part of the story.
So thanks for staying a couple of minutes with me to watch this video. This is a good example, pretty elaborate example actually of some of the work that we want to do going forward with some of the different causes and supporting the cause, and being also a great way to differentiate yourself from competition by offering these really cool, and some of the videos we'll be creating going forward, they're not necessarily going to be cause related, but they'll be fun, they'll be very lively. So we're really excited about that. But what we're really excited about is having a partner like Capturelife and being integrated with Capturelife and offering you this great content going forward. 2020 is going to be a great year in so many ways, and we're really looking forward to this new partnership. And thank you for spending a few minutes with me, and hopefully I'll get to catch all of you at SPAC. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Robert. And this is exciting stuff. And now I'm really in a great position here to actually be able to demo it so people can see it live. So thanks again for joining us today. So Robert provided a great overview of the partnership we have together and the products that are going to be available in the Capturelife Marketplace. By the way, if you're interested in using this live with some jobs here toward the end of the year here, let us know. You can email me at scott@capturelife.com. But what I want to do is show you how this works in Capturelife through your account and what the consumer experience is. So I have a sample product up here, and I'm going to open up the different backgrounds or overlays that are available through 36 Pix. What's really nice is some of these may be backgrounds, some of them may be multi-dimensional, where there's a background, then you have the subject layer, and then an overlay to create a really rich looking image. So I have a set here called School Life. This is really nice, realistic, school settings. Just to explore some other ones, there's a set here called Texture, very nice high-end texture backgrounds that look good regardless of what the kid happens to be wearing typically. There's another one that's kind of fun for just straightforward, backgrounds called Studio Line. One of my favorites, especially if you're gearing it towards younger kids, this Kids Corner. I mean, this is different, and I've seen these with a lot of different captures from different students, younger students, and it's a really fun one. By the way, you can select multiple combinations of these and offer them in multiple sets to the same parent if you'd like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the School Life one and just use that for my demo scenario here. And I have a job that I wanted to show you how this works. So I just did a demo elementary school job, and I have a sample order here ready to go that matches what you're seeing over the right on my mobile phone. So you'll notice that there's one image that's not watermarked. That was the one that was selected and purchased by the parent. They may have purchased this default background, or you as a photographer or lab may have offered this default one. But notice that the PNG file, maybe the 36 Pix extracted for you, it has the subject without a background, and that's marked as premium. That doesn't show up in the user interface for the consumer until they start looking at the whole shopping experience for additional backgrounds here, which we're going to go into right now. So let's go through the whole consumer experience here. So this is what a parent would see when they first come into the app. We let them know that they can share their memories with family and friends. What's nice is that means you have more people coming in to view this content and potentially purchase. We also tell them that there are more backgrounds to purchase. They can tap the image to view and browse more backgrounds, and we point them right up to the option on the screen that tells them how to do that. And this is the way the whole experience gets orchestrated for them. You'll see that this opens in a very elegant display. There's a nice set of tooltips that come up that walk the parents through how to use the various elements on the screen, even though it's very intuitive. You should also know that we have screenshot blocking technology built into our apps. So someone can't take a screenshot here. If they try to, it'll turn the screen black. So you can know that your images are protected from that. But notice the great quality of these backgrounds, how awesome this girl looks against these different backgrounds that are available here. Just really, really nice and elegant the way that 36 Pix has done this. And it's a great shopping experience here as well. So the parents can choose which ones they want. They can add it to the cart, choose whatever. That's a nice one too. Add that to the cart. You determine the prices. So these are selling for $7 a piece, but there's a discount of 10% if you buy more than one. And when they want to check out, they can just go ahead and go through the checkout experience. I have just a demo account. Your logo would show here, by the way. So let me just put in the demo card here. And then, they would put in the month and day. It's right before Christmas here. And then they just purchase by. And that's it. The image is purchased. Then they're told that those 2 images you purchased are being processed, and we refresh the screen when those are ready, and we get them back from 36 Pics. So now let's go in and take a look. So these are the images that were purchased. You see they're now part of the whole album here for the customer. Great high-res images. By the way, we can jump into the print store now and print those, so we have great images to purchase print products from. And then there's the original. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of how simple the workflow is and how you can drive more purchasing from these great products from 36 Pics and vis-a-vis the Capturelife app.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Robert. In the spirit of saving time, I'm going to move this along. For those of you who have listened to the Hanging Pixels podcast, I can go on and on about just about any topic in the photo industry. If you're curious, after this virtual conference is over, go listen to the Hanging Pixels podcast at your leisure. That is my last self-serving promo, I promise. Let's go back to Scott and another one of my favorite photographers, Jim Alsup from LDS Photography.
Great. So I'd like to welcome Jim Alsup from LDS Photography to this segment. Jim and I have worked together. Our 2 companies have worked together for a little over a year now. So I think, Jim, this is our 3rd season maybe under our belts together?
It is.
Yeah. So, Jim, welcome to Pulse. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Great. Jim, I thought just so the people participating, the guests today, get a little better understanding of your business, why don't you take a moment and talk about LDS a little bit?
We're just a regional photography company. We're not super big. We're not super small. We're just kind of, for our region, we're the largest independent. We photograph 100 and some thousand kids a year. We split those kids up between sports and schools, and we offer your product on both sides of that, and it's going great so far.
Great. And I know that when we first started talking to you back a little over a year ago, you were really looking to revamp your packaging. It was based on some trends you were seeing in the market, feedback you were getting. So why don't we start there and just talk a little bit about what drove that kind of change to your packaging and pricing strategy.
Well, we like being ahead of the curve in our market. We don't want to be the third person in. We want to be the first person in. And we like to experiment, and we like to be on the leading edge instead of going, catch up. Because if you're the third dog in, your view is always the same, So it's like we want to be out front. So my wife and I, April, we decided that we needed to offer some other digital delivery besides just a CD or a thumb drive, or offer something. And then we met you guys. We came to Nashville, and I think that might have been one of the first shows on the pro market that you guys were at. So we went down and looked at it, and we were convinced all the way home. We talked about you guys, and we got to figure out how to do this. So we came home and we incorporated it into our larger packages. We raised the price so we could get a bump on those. And then we offered it separate, with a strong market price. And now we found that, we get customers in and they're hooked on it. So we've used it enough times that we're getting kids in the sports market 2 or 3 times a year. We're getting school pictures because we photograph those same kids in their schools. And once they get that app, they want to keep it there. And we couldn't do it any other way. For us, it's worked out phenomenally.
That's great. And can you talk a little bit more about the detail of your packages? I know you do your own printing, but the strategy was to bundle print and digital. So can you talk a little bit more about your packages?
Sure. Well, we bundled the digital with our top packages. We didn't put it in all of them. Our smaller packages, we left it out, or you could buy it individual. And we also offered a 24-hour package. So in our schools, if we photographed your kid and you paid with a cash or a credit card, that way we know we got paid. If you do it with a check and they bounce your check, you can't get your money. So you had to pay with cash and credit card. If you did, we actually downloaded our images. we took all those orders out, and one person went and actually fulfilled those on Capturelife the next day. So they got it within tomorrow. Like if I did it today, you'd get it tomorrow. If we did it on Friday, you'd get it Monday. And it went great. The problem we run into is all my administration, they would call and go, hey, we got all these parents calling complaining that so-and-so's got their pictures, but they don't. And the admin, the secretaries are like, well, what do I tell them? I'm like, well, tell them to order that digital package next time. And it's a premium. So we charged extra for the 24 hours. So you could get it for $25. And if you wanted the 24 hours, it was $32. And we didn't have any issues with that at all. We charged a premium for it. And, you know, some people just want to pay and have it right now.
Oh, sure. And it's really interesting to hear from admins about something because you're actually delivering something faster and other people are wanting that.
Facebook and social media was our friend then, because they would get it and they'd pop it right on social media. Then that covered everybody that followed them, you know, and you get 40 or 50 parents doing that. Then all the rest of them are connected to everybody else. And it went crazy. So we've seen since then, it keeps increasing because people want it quicker, you know, and they want it. They're going to pay for it in my world.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. In an earlier segment, Ryan, owner at Focused on Forever, talked about the Amazon effect and, you know, getting more creative about how they can deliver more immediately. And I like what you did. You split out what you could deliver quicker and at least, you know, gave those people an option, even though the print may go through your, you know, a standard cycle still. So that's clever. I like it.
Yeah, it's worked for us. You guys use it. Go make some money.
Yeah, great. And can you talk a little bit about how was that transition? Because when we talk to photographers, one of the things that sort of stalls them a bit is making a change like you did. I mean, that was creative. We hadn't heard of someone doing that before, but you did it. Obviously, there's always going to be a little, you know, with that change, there could be some bumps or whatever. But how did it go for you?
You know, we've got a deal with us. You can hear my wife working in the background. She's the one who does everything around here. I'm just the beauty of the business. But what we did is typically we sit down, we come saw you guys, we try to figure out what to do. We edged it in to begin with on a couple of shoots, and it went really well. You know, we had your marketing material that we printed out and gave to it, which worked really well. And then once we got to it, it just kind of caught fire and just kept on going, you know. So with us, like I said, we're not afraid to try anything new. In fact, we're going to do some more new stuff with you here shortly, I do believe. And, you know, we just like to be on that cusp of it. So if there's, you know, if you have any fear about doing this, don't have any fear. You just jump in, you know. I'm not one sticking my toes in. I'm going to jump in and see how warm it is. So don't be afraid to try it.
Yeah, you reminded me that one of the things that always when you're implementing something new like that, the first season, there's going to be some natural changes. For example, we see it with the consumers. They're getting a different experience. They may have some questions on that. So you may actually get a little bit of increase in communication with the customers over that. But what we've heard and what I look at all of our support cases, so I see yours. You know, we really didn't have many at all this past fall season. And I think a lot of that is because your communication gets better with these parents and then they just come to expect it. And, you know, those questions don't come. So my guidance to photographers or labs who are implementing, let it go through a cycle. Any change like that is going to go through a cycle. And then naturally, you're going to settle into a mode where your customers are going to have less questions on that.
I don't think there's any issues because most people now have smartphones. I mean, the kids that are 5 have smartphones now. And by the way, they're way better at it than I am. But, you know, when you see that, they're used to downloading apps. So that's just the way it is. So, you know, we were worried about, well, they have to download a new app. Somebody's not going to want to do that. We had no pushback at all on the app. And now we have it the other way. It's like, oh, I love my Capturelife, you know, and like I said, we have multiple buys on it with the same people over and over. So once you get them stuck in there, it's kind of like we used to sell a whole bunch of plaques, with a picture on a plaque. And when you got those certain customers, once they bought 3 or 4, then it became tradition, and it just kept, the repetition was what kept them going. It's like, well, we've always gotten this. This is what we need to get. The good news is with digital, you can get it really reasonable, and you can sell it for a pretty good margin. And at that point, then you need to get them in. But we charge more for our digital than most people around here, and we don't have any pushback on it at all. None.
Yeah, that's great. And, we've talked about the Capturelife Marketplace. We're showing some of that during this Pulse event, and the ability to take an individual capture and transform that into multiple versions automatically. You already do some of that. I see with your images, you're giving them more than just one background sometimes, depending on what package and some other transformations you do. But I'm really excited to work with you guys on some of these marketplace options so that you can be offering even more after delivery sales, digital sales through the app. So, with that, what's next for you? You're always innovating. So what's next for LDS as you look to 2020?
Well, we're looking forward to being able to offer multiple backgrounds, maybe the option of because we don't proof anything, but it might be that if we can find I don't know what you guys call it, a soft proof that we can sell that's guarded, like you can't screenshot it, because we spoke about that. We can offer that. And the hard part, I think, is going to be for us is capturing our customers' information up front, or during the shoot. So if we can get them to opt in somehow, once they opt in, if we can get majority of those, I think selling that way is going to be a lot easier. I think that it's, because we can offer way more digitally than we can through a paper product.
Right.
And that's what our customers are wanting. I mean, when's the last time you took out a wallet out of your pocket and showed it to somebody? I mean, I got one.
Wallet.
Yeah, that's it. I carry a picture that my wife and I took 10 years ago in Florida, and it's all ratty and torn. I'm going to have to make a new one, but I carry that. I got one, and that's it, but yeah, it's all on your phone. And if you don't realize that's what you got, then, you're losing sales.
Yeah. Well, Jim, I really appreciate you, sharing your insights today with the attendees, and we really appreciate just working with you and just, keeping on the pulse of the industry. And you guys are always out ahead, so we really appreciate that.
Hey, thanks for having us. I hope I helped anybody out. If you got any questions, they can reach out to me, and I'm easily found.
Great. Thanks, Jim.
No problem. See you guys soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Hi, folks. Scott Diffusco with Capturelife here. So in this segment, we're going to talk about a very specific workflow and use case related to action sports photography, and it utilizes the Capturelife Events app. So let's talk a little bit more about how this works, and then we're going to hear from a customer, Kevin Cook of Legends Event Photos, on how he's used this effectively in the field to make more profit from his events. So how did this come about? Well, we teamed up with our longtime partner, Glossy Finish, to come up with this new model for action sports where you can make money with action photos. Now, that may seem like an obvious thing, but those of you who have been in this space and who have done action sports photography know that it is tough to make money because most companies are using the wrong business model, and they don't have the technology to streamline the process. So it not only becomes very labor intensive, but it's built on the old spray and pray model. That's what people have traditionally done. They've taken pictures of everybody on the field, and then they've thrown those pictures up online in a gallery, hoping that parents come and purchase images. We all know that that model doesn't work, and it's just been proven over time to really push photographers out of the action sports photography space. But Glossy Finish has worked with a different model for years. They've always taken payment and only photographed the people who have paid them, their child. So that's a very different model, and it works. And so what they've done is teamed up with us to take what they've built over the years in building one of the most successful action sports photography businesses in the world, And we've teamed up to build this new model that puts this all in the hands of any photographer. So we're going to talk more specifically about that. So the model is very simple. You actually take a payment using the Capturelife Events app from parents whose photographs you're going to take of their kids. So you're only going to photograph the people that paid you. So if you're shooting a game and you take payments from, let's say, 5 parents, then those are the kids you're photographing. So the app allows you to take the payment, enter the customer information, some information on the kid or kids that you'll be photographing, and then it's all taken from there. Then you photograph. You do what you're great at, and you photograph the kids whose parents paid for them to be photographed. After the game, you upload, do any editing you might need to do, and then using the Capturelife platform, just push those orders out right to the parent's phone. Now you have a direct connection to that parent on an ongoing basis. And what we've seen as well is that parent has access to your great work, your brand is front and center, and they're showing off those photographs to other parents. So it becomes this referral network for you to get more work. That's how it works. It's a very simple process. But let's talk a little bit more about what's behind this model, because there's a lot more to it than this, a lot more that you can harness. Number one, GFCrew is the brand behind this. So this is what Glossy Finish came up with as a community called GFCrew. And if you go to gfcrew.com, you will see all sorts of ways that you can join the community, leverage the community. There's, I believe we're over 1,000 now members in the community. You're going to find all sorts of great resources, videos, tutorials on how to make money using this method. In addition, you're going to be able to download the app here. You're going to be able to buy the starter kit, which we'll talk about a little more here in a minute, and really have an ongoing connection with this great community. So there's people here helping you to succeed at the model. And so we said it's no more spray and pray. So prepaid sales only using the app. You have a square reader that you use to swipe and take the payment with the app. But there's some other things that are part of this model that Glossy Finish has developed that are really important to the success. For example, this starter kit that you're seeing here in the middle of the screen allows you to look like an event photographer, wear an official bib. You have credentials. You actually have press pass credentials that includes a background check that Glossy Finish provides, so that people know that you're a professional accredited photographer that has the credentials to back it up. There's also marketing material that you use with the parents, like a lanyard that the parent wears when their kid's being photographed, or rubber bands that you put around the kids' cleats so you know which ones you're photographing during the game. It makes it easy to identify them. All sorts of tools that come with the starter kit that make this model really effective. And then the app itself is a big part of the model. So with the app, you can quickly create customer and job information. So you add a job, you add a customer, their name, their phone number, their email address, some information on the subjects that you're going to be capturing, and then you take a payment. You swipe their credit card right there. The transaction is registered, and that customer record is waiting for you after the game so that you can upload the photos to that customer in your Capturelife portal and deliver those images to the customer right on their phone. So it's a very simple and intuitive process. And the pricing is simple. There's no upfront fees. This is essentially free to use. We only get paid when you take orders. When you take an order, there's a 15% service fee. That's how we get paid. And then the rest is yours. If there are any print sales made after the fact, this is a digital first model, so you're delivering digital images, but Capturelife does have the print store in the app that allows print purchases to be made by the consumer at any time in the future. And the majority of those proceeds from the profit go right back to you as a photographer. So how do you can get started right away? Just go to GFCrew, sign up, get the starter kit, and download the app and get going making money with action sports. And I wanted to highlight Kevin Cook. Kevin Cook has been using this model And I'll introduce Kevin here so he can talk more about what they've done with the GFCrew Model and the Capturelife Events app. So with us now for this segment is Kevin Cook, Legends Event Photography. And Kevin and his company has been a customer with us for several years now. So we've had a lot of work together. Kevin has also been very progressive in the use of the platform. When new technology or workflows come out, he's been ready to embrace those and has had some real success. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So Kevin, welcome to Pulse.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, we're excited for all the stuff Capturelife kind of brings to our business, and it's been great for us. So we're looking forward to it.
Great. And for the people attending, just to get a better sense of your company, Kevin, because you do different types of photography, it'd be great for you to just give a brief introduction of what your company does.
Sure. So we started out primarily as like volume youth sports, and that's still the core of our business. So, team and individual picture day. Off of that, we branched into some on-site printing events. That's become a pretty big portion of our revenue over the course of the year. And then over the last 3 years, we've now kind of gotten back into the volume school underclass business. And so we had some schools of our own, and we purchased an existing guy's business, and we've integrated Capturelife into a lot of that as well. He was using some outdated digital delivery methods, CDs and things like that. So we've kind of integrated the Capturelife model into everything we do to an extent, because it kind of keeps us from having to deliver all these different ways. So we do a little bit of everything, but volume is kind of the crux of what our focus is.
Right. And related to that, your focus on volume, you've mentioned in the past that you've done action sports photography, for example, but there were some maybe operational and financial challenges to the previous model. Can you talk a little bit about, how you were running the events before?
Sure.
From a business model and technical perspective, and then when you got introduced to the GFCrew model that we worked with Glossy Finish, our partner, on, and the Capturelife Events app, how you've used that at several events and sort of what the difference is between the two models.
Yeah, so we've done action like events for 15 to 20 years, going back to when we used to take laser printers and print proof books. And then we've tried every kind of software that's been out there, 5-minute photo parada, just using the Express Digital stations as viewing kiosks. We have tried it all. Even use some software now called Photability, which is still good software, but what we kept running into was to have any sort of on-site viewing stations. Action photography has just changed so much in the last decade that to staff those events was just eating the profit, just eating it alive. And so we had a lot of revenue, but it took so much staff to set up 6 to 8 kiosks, staff those kiosks, somebody printing, all that stuff. It just ate into the profit. And to go on with that, even no matter how many stations you set up, that was the limit to the number of customers you could serve at one time. I mean, go to any ballpark tournament and all 5 fields get done at one time. And so 10 teams worth of parents walk by your booth. If you've got 10 iPads, you can only help 10 people. And so we just kind of kept beating our heads against the wall about how we can do less work for as much, if not more money. And so we had tried a couple of options. We tried like just posting it to our website. That didn't work. We tried everything. And so we had already been partnering with you guys, Capturelife, on just like our regular digital deliveries when you guys came out with the first version of the smart events. We tried that. And then when they rolled out the GFCrew model, we tried it at it's one of those events you just have to do to get their T&I business. It's their end of the year jamboree. And we were basically doing really good to break even every year, but we had to do it to get the money part of the job. And so this past year we tried it, and I think we took close to 30 signups. We charged probably a lower price point than what we should, just because it was kind of a new thing. But we went out there with just the 3 photographers and one lady kind of helping the parents, sign up, and made, almost as much revenue with probably half of the expense, because I didn't take my trailer, I didn't get out my iPads, I didn't have a computer person, I didn't have a salesperson. So profit-wise, our profit on that particular job was much higher, and the people embraced it because they've been getting their images from that league from us through Capturelife for several years. So the notion of getting their images from this event all digitally, they were fine with it. So nobody once said, well, you've always printed this or you've always done that. They just ran with it. And so we've now used it at a couple other events. In fact, we just used it 2 weekends ago at a similar event, but for a football jamboree. And we had about 40 signups at that, which was great because we're really there just to do the team photos. And it's another event that we have to do. It's like a conference-wide championship game. And same thing, I cut my labor costs down, cut my employee costs down, all the equipment we did not have to set up. So we were able to get there later, leave earlier. You're not trying to stay after the last game to sell them the pictures you just took. We already had the money in hand. We came back to the office, did some edits, uploaded, and we were done with it. So it's been really great for us, on certain events to really kind of keep the costs down, and we're making as much profit as we did before with probably half the work. So
that's great. And you highlighted something that's worth, elaborating on a little bit. And that is that previously, if I'm understanding it right, it was a spec model. Would you get the orders in advance, or would people come up and view afterwards, or how did the model work?
So we switched about 5 years ago to where the parent did have to pay a sign-up fee, but then they still had to come after the game to pick out the images they wanted. So that's another way it saved us, is we had to deal with each customer twice. They had to come to our booth to sign up, give us money then, and then they had to come back to our booth after the game to pick out, that's the one I want on the poster, this is what I want for this. So it's a little bit less of an investment on the customer's sake too, because they're not really there for pictures. They're there for, baseball game, football game. So it's like they were in and out of our booth in, 5 minutes, versus, we've had people stay at our booth for 2 hours, because we got 60 images of their kid and they're trying to whittle it down to the 5 they want on a poster. So you can see like that frustration start to build. It's almost like you gave them too much of a good thing. So it kind of made it a much slicker process for the customer too. There's always some folks that kind of resist that change, but the majority were like, this is much easier. I walk up, I don't have to look at the iPads. With the iPads, no matter what you do, they're hard to see. It's just been a more efficient method for us and for the parents. So
yeah, that's great. And you I remember when we talked about this in the past, you mentioned there was another benefit, that first tournament that you did, that you were actually able to get behind the lens again.
Yeah. So I very rarely, I'm sure like most of the folks watching, as your business gets bigger, you get to do less and less of what you kind of got into it to do. And that was the case with me. Especially at these events, I was kind of the maintenance man, Kevin, they walkie-talkie me and, the iPad, 8, it's not picking up the signal, or, the photo printer, did this or whatever. So I would just as soon get on the field and get called back off the field. So the couple events that I've personally been at where we've used the GFCrew model, I've got to be one of the photographers, because it's the only thing that can go wrong is the iPad. And so there's only one thing to kind of worry about. And, that we always have a backup for that. So it's let me go and shoot, which not only is enjoyable for me, like on a personal level, but saves me money because I'm not hiring that position out. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for me. So it's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I know that you've given us feedback that we are now incorporating. We've received feedback from you and a lot of other photographers, and that's feeding into our work with glossy finish on the whole GFCrew model, and we're going to continue enhancing that. So appreciate the feedback that you've given us, and we're excited to see this progress even more in the market, and hopefully you're excited about using it in even more events in the future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for for it to be like kind of the first iteration, I mean, it's already been a benefit, and so we've discussed internally amongst my staff, it would be great if it did this, and then the next time there's a release, it's doing that. So we're excited to kind of see what else we can use it towards. We obviously during our off seasons, we'll take on all sorts of different events to kind of fill in our calendar. So we're already kind of looking ahead and saying, well, this could help us do, Santa photos. We do some like trunk or treat events, and some of those we do for like PR, just in our community, or if it's a community we want to get into their business, we've taken on little events that normally we would not do because it would be too much headache to set up printers and set up these sorts of things. But this kind of gives us an avenue to where we can take on some other styles of events, and look at it and say, okay, well, we don't have to worry about taking all this stuff. We can just go with a photographer and maybe an assistant, and we can go do this event. Maybe we make money, but a lot of those events we just look at as a way to kind of brand ourselves, get our name out there. So this kind of gives us a slick way to do that. And we always look at these things as the more times we can engage a certain customer over and over again, especially digitally, we kind of look at it as building a portfolio with that client, where we don't want them to shop around to another person, where if they're on their personal Capturelife app on their phone, they're seeing all these images over time that we've delivered to them, whether that's their Little League Baseball, a daddy-daughter dance, schools, anything. We want that to continually be coming from us so that they notice when whatever organization they're with doesn't do that. And it's hard to do that in prints, because once they get framed, even if you've watermarked it or if you back printed it, once it's framed, that's really gone. And so at least on that digital side, they can constantly see, I've got 15 pictures from Legends Event Photo in Clinton, and that way if we show up at their event, there's an expectation of what they're going to get from us. And so we look at all these things as just ways to continually just keep delivering images. It's almost like building up like an insurance portfolio. We just want that long-standing relationship where it's like, hey, I know who those guys are. So we're excited to see what it's going to do and kind of the different things we can do with it.
Yeah, and it's such an important point you're making about building your brand and keeping, if someone's just using, they use it one season, they may not realize that benefit like you have, where it starts to build. And speaking of building brand, your free Virginia Tech hat is on the way. So you can replace the hat you're wearing and wear a Virginia Tech hat.
Good luck with that.
Well, Kevin, I really want to thank you for taking the time to be with us and sharing your insights, and we look forward to doing more with you in the future.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, thank you, guys.
Bye.
Okay, as a side note, I just want to say that I have been having a blast since I joined the team at Capturelife. I want to thank all of the photographers who joined us today. They are all participating on their own accord, and I want to take a quick moment to thank all of them for taking the time. I also want to mention that we did not have the time to bring Heather Sams on today's program, but Heather was kind enough to record a Capturelife Photographer Spotlight segment last month. When this is over, I encourage you to watch the Heather Sams episode of the Capturelife Photographer Spotlight series. It's on the Capturelife YouTube page. Heather is using the workflow that I will demo during the last segment, and her comments during the Photographer Spotlight about the economics behind this modern workflow are incredibly insightful, so watch it at your leisure. Our last segment before the big automated workflow demo is with Walt Smith of Impact Images. Let's go grab Walt. All right, so we're on live now with Walt Smith from Impact Images. Hi, Walt. How you doing?
Hey, TW. I'm good. How about you?
Good, good. Walt, I'm excited to have you on because you're one of those guys. I've been with Capturelife for, I think, 18 months now, and you were one of the first photographers to call me directly and I loved it. You kind of made me nervous, but I loved it at the same time because you threw all these questions out at me. And I'm one of those guys that I really like to genuinely help people. And you brought a workflow problem to me. And for my career in the photo industry has been solving workflow problems, right? 20 years ago, I was handed a film and chemistry lab that needed to go digital. And so basically, I've been trying to solve workflow issues. And I absolutely loved the project that you brought to me. I think today during this Capturelife Virtual Users Conference, I'm going to show, you and I have been talking about this, but I'm going to show this new workflow that's going right from the camera out to Capturelife and the consumer and cash in that model as well, the additional sales. So we'll see that in a little bit. But for now, I wanted to bring you on to this session because you did bring me those questions and you've been thinking about these things now, obviously from before I came on board with Capturelife. And so let's go back, let's rewind 18 months. It's when you first came on board with Capturelife. And for many photographers, yeah, the bells and whistles that I'm about to show, those are all very cool things, but let's rewind back and can you just let me know how you got your start? Like, where did you pick off in your workflow and process? How did you just get started with digital and Capturelife?
Well, we started with trying to deliver digital files probably way before almost anybody else at this level in my business. I remember taking a lot of heat at a SPAC convention one year because I wanted to move towards the digital side of things, and everybody said, oh, you're crazy, you'll only sell one and everybody will share it and you'll never sell anything else and nobody wants it. And I just said, I don't believe any of that. I had done some focus groups, which I think is really important for photographers in the volume business to really understand your market. I did the focus group with 20 parents that did not buy pictures on picture day. I took them to dinner, sat down, talked to them for about an hour and a half. And the biggest reason they didn't buy pictures is because they didn't want any more prints. They've got a drawer full of pictures by the time their kid's 10 years old that they don't know what to do with. They wanted digital files. And I had been thinking that was the way to go, and this just confirmed it. So that started me down the journey of realizing this generation of consumer, they want stuff at their fingertips, and that's what I wanted to deliver to them. So we started selling digital files without getting into my own workflow and the packages. Unless you want to do that, I'll be glad to. But we started selling files of individuals and teams. And within 6 months of doing that, it was our #1 seller. Mm-hmm. Now we sell over 70% of every customer buys a digital package. And it's digital only. In fact, we've moved to some leagues now that we're doing digital only, period. So we were using a download method through Zenfolio on our website. We'd give them a code, they go download, get their prints because they've already paid, or their files because they've already paid for them. And it just led to more and more problems. People couldn't understand the download process. They didn't get it right. They lost their code. While it was a good theory and a good way to deliver the product, it was just more time consuming and costing us more work. So when you guys came out and I saw you, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I need a digital delivery solution that's easy, simple, and foolproof. And that's where you guys come in. And ever since we jumped in, it's just been crazy with you. And again, you've seen our sales numbers. You know how many things we're running through there every month.
Yep. And I certainly appreciate the point that you just made about, because again, in the Minneapolis area where I had a similar business running youth athletic photography, we had a download system, access lookup codes, and really that's causing more work on the consumer, right? Exactly. As you said, headaches for your own customer support team because you have to work through with a customer online. I think that with today's mobile consumer and the ease of use of just about everything in our lives these days, right? The design is good. We're just getting, it's real fluid and real dynamic. And so I certainly appreciate you coming on board with Capturelife and making that transition. And it's very refreshing to hear that it's been a good transition for you from a technology that you had in place in your workflow to Capturelife. Let's rewind just a little bit. How did you let customers know that this change was happening from an older system of digital delivery to this more modern system?
Well, anytime you need to bring something new to your customers, it's always about education. So how can we get information to them easiest, simplest, less confusing way as possible? So I made a banner, 7-foot pull-up banner about digital files and why you should think about buying digital files instead of prints. And we had 7 key points listed on it, and it's sitting right there next to our sample table at League Day. So everything they need to know about digital files and the advantages of Capturelife. Not only are you getting your files easily and quickly, but what it can do for you in the future. It can organize your photos on your phone. It can keep your kids' photos in separate folders. So when you need them later, they're in 7th grade now, by the time they're a senior and you want to pull up all those senior pictures for a senior video, it's right there in the Capturelife folder.
Yep.
So it's just about educating them, 1, what it can do for them, 2, how easy it is, and 3, what a convenience it all is not to have to deal with anything else except a couple of clicks on your phone. So we made the banner. We also made little business cards. Every person, when they check out at the table, if they bought the digital package, we give them a little card that says, hey, you bought digital files. You're going to get a text that says your Capturelife, your photos from Impact Images and Capturelife are coming. Watch out for a text. This will be the number that it comes from so that they don't think it's junk or spam. And it just reminds them, oh, my digital files are coming.
Yeah.
Previous to that, we would deliver back a little card with a download code from our website when we delivered back all the other pictures. The other great advantage that people are loving with Capturelife is now, as soon as that order hits the lab for prints, the Capturelife order goes out immediately. So they get their pictures way before anybody else that orders prints, and it's so simple.
Yeah.
The other thing we show them on League Day, if they have any questions or don't understand it, is all my staff will pull out a phone, open up the Capturelife app, show them what a picture looks like, show them how you can just go order a picture with such total ease.
Yep.
And they're just blown away with the technology.
Yep. So we certainly have seen, and you've been very successful with Capturelife, and we've seen this with other photographers. Again, it's the information that you get to your customers on picture day, letting them know that it's going to be delivered digitally. That certainly leads to success on the back end with your customers getting their, knowing how the images are going to come to them. And as you mentioned, it's almost its own self-marketing platform when these customers are getting these images on their phone ahead of any other products. Again, as consumers, we're starting to get used to this, the everything happening right away, right?
We live in the serve me now generation, and this kind of needs.
Yeah. And your customers, they've received Capturelife well. I mean, as far as this storage system, having the images in one place on their phone.
Our feedback is people love it. People absolutely think it's the greatest thing. And now that we've been through a whole year and we're starting in the second year, the second cycle, there are parents that walk up and they don't even look. They just grab an order form, Capturelife, and if they hear us talking to another parent, like my person on the sample table will be answering questions about digital files, and the parents that already have it, like, oh, you'll love it. It's the greatest thing. Just do it. Super simple. So now the parents are starting to market to the other parents for us because they've seen it, they've shared it, they know what's going on. If they hear questions being asked, they'll chime right in. And it's been great.
You mentioned another thing that I don't think we hit on often enough, but you had mentioned your customer service staff having some issues before with the older system. Has that gotten better as well?
It's eliminated. I mean, before we'd have so many problems. Oh, I don't understand the download, or through the process they were using was Zenfolio. If you made any mistake or typed in the code wrong, that code was invalid. So we had to start over, give them a new code. We ended up just emailing them the picture in the first place, which is what we were trying to avoid.
Yeah.
I would say we probably had anywhere from 35 to 45% of those transactions were a problem. We would have to either that customer would contact us via phone or email, and we would have to deal with it. We were spending way too much time. It defeated the whole purpose of what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now the only issue we ever have now is I didn't get my text or I didn't get the email. And so it's super simple in the Capturelife app or the back office just to resend it to them. And we'll tell them, hey, watch your phone. We'll send it right now. And usually they'll just stay on the phone with us and they get it. Oh, yeah. Or they'll find it in their junk folder if they prefer the email delivery method.
Yep.
But other than that, there's no problem. And it's just one click for us to fix it and send it back out to them.
Yeah, that's the benefit of that cloud-based service, right? It's you make an adjustment and it is fixed on the customer's phone immediately, right? It's all cloud-based, so yeah.
Exactly. And the other nice thing, I don't know if you've touched on this in other segments or not, but if there's an error in it, a data entry error, something's wrong, we have to make a correction and send it back out to someone. Again, it's just, we can do it in a click. It takes 10 seconds to send it to someone. Upload it, click send, off it goes. No more having to contact, no more having to re-email, attach it to an email, all that. It's just, this is so much simpler. Such a time saver.
The last thing I wanted to touch on before jumping into this workflow that I think you're going to love the demo coming up here in just a moment, but you've also embraced this idea. I think this is a more modern idea of high-end content delivery to your customers. There's some legacy costs that we have in the photo industry where I think it goes back to film, where we had one piece of film that was kind of expensive to produce, and so we were hyper concentrated on taking one good picture, and then we guarded that one good picture, and that's all we ever had of this kid, and we would try and sell that out to parents. But you've embraced this idea of let's take this picture and turn it into more content, right? Multiple iterations of the same picture. You're using Wes and NextGen to create these, I've seen them, they're these incredible digital packages, right, with crazy backgrounds and graphics and overlays. That's a very modern take, I think, on this as far as the industry in itself and how we need to move forward as photographers and what we're providing to our consumers who are now getting used to this multitude of content, right? How do you sell that level of content on Picture Day? I mean, how do you present that to your customers?
It's pretty simple. There's people that just want the basic package. I want my kid's picture and I want a team picture. No different than if it's prints. It's just the digital view of that. So we have that. We have two different packages. We have a basic, which gives you just that. You get your individual file and you get a team file. But if you want more than that, we obviously can give you more than that. So we have a bigger package, a bigger digital package, the grand package, that has 4 digital files in it. It has a different background for the kid, a different template, a different product. When it's digital like this, especially with working with Wes and NextGen and marrying it all together, it's nothing for you to create 5 different products that you can send out. Yep. You can send up to 9 things in one Capturelife order. You can send more than that, but the basic Capturelife order is up to 9 files. So why not give them 9 files? It costs you virtually nothing more. It's a great perceived value for the customer, and all that does is increase your revenue. And I think that's important. Since we started selling digital files, everybody told me that the conventional thinking was, you're not going to make any money, you're going to lose money. Our average sale is up $6, and our participation is up as well. So if you're not selling digital files and if you're not using Capturelife, you're sitting on the sidelines, and somebody like me is going to come run by you.
I couldn't agree more. And again, we've been watching trends in this industry. You're certainly up on all of these trends. Again, you've been pushing us. I will thank you again for doing that, right? Because Capturelife is definitely a forward-thinking company and platform, and we certainly appreciate having photographers like you help us keep this machine churning and turn this in, not just Capturelife, but the industry in itself into what it needs to become next, right? We certainly appreciate the feedback and all the pushing, so thank you.
Well, in this business, you can't survive unless you have good partners working with you. So I need you guys as much as you need us. This industry, there's one way to survive. You either evolve or you evade. You keep pushing forward or you get out. Evolve or evade. You can do that kind of stuff with Capturelife, NextGen, and other partners that are out there that are always forward thinking and pushing and pushing and pushing. Otherwise, you're going to sit back and be watching everybody else do it. And I'm not interested in that.
I appreciate it, Walt. I appreciate you coming on. Stick around because what we're going to see next is that sneak peek around the corner of what we're working on at Capturelife. And again, it's this the idea that we're plugging companies together. It's no longer this everything is mine, I'm going to hold on to this model. You just mentioned it. You grab this high quality content from Wes and NextGen, you take Capturelife Delivery. What we're going to see happens to work with Canon cameras in this seamless fashion. And this is, again, what I believe this is what we're all leading towards, this plug and play nature of taking all of these wonderful companies, putting it all together and providing ultimately consumers a product that they want. And as you mentioned, that they're going to pay for.
I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited.
Thanks, Walt. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, it's now time for my session where I'm going to demo this awesome cash to camera to consumer workflow. As you know, I've been working in the volume photography industry for 20 years. I ran a production lab in a large, very forward-thinking youth athletic photography company, and I cut my teeth developing software stations and digital workflows way back in the early 2000s. What I'm going to show you is most certainly a workflow of tomorrow, and it's most certainly available today. This all started when Mike Gurley and the development team at Canon sent me a camera that has the Canon CC API enabled. The Canon CC API is another example of how modern companies are developing these open systems that all play nicely with one another. Again, opening doors between talented teams of software engineers like we have at Capturelife in the very powerful cameras and lenses created by Canon. I'll say it one more time. In this day and age, with technological transformation happening at an accelerated rate, don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially when we have these open platforms connecting companies like Canon directly to 36 pix through Capturelife. Again, together we're going to solve the issues that we face, and I find it hard to believe that any one company is going to figure out our evolving mobile consumer. All right, let's dive in. So Mike Early sends me this camera and I write some code. I created a demo machine of sorts that shows off this modern camera to Capturelife consumer workflow. Again, because Capturelife has an open API, anybody could have written this code. In this case, I'd been working with volume photographers who wanted a fast data entry system where they could deliver Santa photos right to customers right then and there at the Santa photo shoot. So I wrote some code, plugged it into the Capturelife API, and I'm proud to say that photographers are using this system live in the field at malls across the United States and Canada this holiday season right now. When I connected the Canon CC API to Capturelife, I quickly realized that the little Santa routine that I had written applied to just about every workflow in the industry. I could take a photo and send it to a customer's phone in a matter of seconds, right then and there while they were still at the photo shoot. After I had created this workflow, this demo machine, Mike and his team at Canon invited me to meet them in Orlando and demo this workflow at IAAPA, which is a giant international trade show for resorts, attractions, zoos, cruise lines. There were, if you can imagine the Orlando Convention Center, there were roller coasters, and set up inside in VR machines and people dressed up as mascots, gorillas crawling around on the floor, food vendors, snow cone machine sellers. If you think the photo industry is crazy, you should really try the resorts and attractions and cruise line industry. But the demo that we did at IAAPA is what I want to show you today, this idea that we could launch any workflow right from an iPad, whether you're coming off a cruise ship or off of a zip line or from a live music event, a character meet and greet. This new camera to Capturelife to consumer workflow basically solved all of these potential workflow issues and really fit into this modern customer journey where the image landed on their phone basically in real time. Today, in the spirit of the holiday season, I'm going to stick with the Santa Claus workflow. I'm going to run the first demo using a Santa Claus workflow. Again, we've got photographers at malls and in stores today using a modified version of this workflow. It didn't have the Canon camera connected as part of this workflow there, but they're certainly using a modified version today. So I'm going to click on this Santa demo, and I'm going to enter the child's first name. In this case, I'm going to be Tom Woodward, and I'm going to type in an email address. today. Really, when I do these demos, I've sent so many to my phone that the deliveries to my phone are starting to get a little bit crowded. So I'm going to send it to my email address. This, of course, could be right to customer's phone through text message, could be email, can be both. I'm going to tap Boop Santa on the nose, and I'm going to fire this Canon camera all through this open API. All right. Camera took my picture. You can see it show up here on the iPad. You're seeing on my screen both the iPad and my phone. And in this case, I'm going to click this Create Holiday Cards button because today's consumer is becoming very used to this rich content. I'm sure you've all seen by now what Mom's able to do on our iPhone. And as photographers in this modern mobile era, we need to keep up. We don't just need to keep up. We need to jump ahead, take the work away from Mom so she doesn't have to go into Snapchat or Instagram and actually deliver digital product that the customer wants. Again, this is part of this modern mobile experience. And what you see just happened here is on this iPad, that image that I just took, again, that was all magic, wireless, made possible through those open APIs. These images are now showing up on this iPad. And you can see we've generated this rich content for the holiday season. And now I'm going to actually send this directly out to my phone so they all come out in the same delivery. In a Santa Claus workflow, of course, you could have swiped a credit card ahead of time, charged for that whole digital package, that rich content, hits Capturelife, and of course it's instantly available to share. So basically the kid's getting off of Santa's lap, grabbing Mom's hand, and this delivery is happening to Mom in real time. So it went from the iPad camera all the way out to the consumer's phone. So let's go through this consumer journey, this delivery to the customer's smartphone. If I go to my email and I get this link, this one says from Gold Photos, your digital photos have arrived. Now this came from the Santa Claus photographer. I'm going to click on View My Photos. And what we're going to see is this modern mobile consumer journey. Here's the picture that was delivered to me. But I also have these additional pictures that were generated through Capturelife. And you'll see how this is incredibly rich content that we were talking about before. But what just happened here was this Macy's ad popped up. And now this is incredibly important for tomorrow's photographer. And when I say tomorrow's photographer, I'm talking to photographers on a daily basis. I had a meeting today specifically about Santa Claus photography and a young and aggressive photographer who says, I'm going to take this advertising campaign and not only am I going to sell marketing material, not only am I going to sell the photos and this rich content that I just showed you to my customers, but I'm also going to sell marketing campaigns to the shopping mall. If you can imagine the kid getting off of Santa's lap, grabbing Mom's hand, Mom has her pictures delivered right to her phone, the rich content she can share with family and friends. But the photographer is also contracted with some of the stores inside the mall, and these stores are paying the photographer for that one-to-one mobile marketing. We know Mom's in the mall. We can send her messages like this directly to her phone while she's still at the mall. And this can really start to drive consumer behavior. Now, a photography company has modernized itself to the point where you're making money on the photos and you're making money on advertisements that you've sold to the stores in the mall. And these advertising campaigns are something that even the largest marketing and advertising agencies in the country are having difficulties with this one-to-one mobile marketing. You've got this now in your toolbox, stand to make a considerable amount of additional revenue. I'm going to take you back out. While we were talking, I got this push notification that said limited time, take 20% off holiday gifts, use code TREE20. So now Mom's back at her home. This push notification could have been triggered at any time. And now she's in the comfort of her own home. We're talking about this modern mobile shopping experience, this Amazon-like experience. And I click on that. Of course, it takes me out to the print store. And from here, I've got my images. I've got my rich content. I've got my coupon code, to take 20% off. Use code TREE20 to take 20% off. I'm going to scroll down here to my ornaments. Of course, these go hand in hand with the holiday season. As you can tell, this is now this modern mobile consumer experience where the photographer is going to make money on the photos. That this whole system, you could have swiped a credit card on the front end and charged a sitting fee. Photographers are going to make money on the back end by sending these images directly to customers' phone, generating this rich content. Look at that as a Christmas tree ornament. I don't know who would want me on their Christmas tree ornament, but it does look great. You can set the photo from anything that was just delivered, and you've got these spectacular looking products in the print store. I'm going to go back to the Capturelife app. Again, I'm demoing this modern mobile experience, but not just the consumer side of it, or I should say it's part of the consumer side of it. We've got this persistent news card. Again, you've got marketing that you can sell directly to the stores in this mall. From my perspective, this is absolutely game-changing. For volume photographers, I think you could state the case that you deserve photos at any mall or any store because you can deliver this one-to-one mobile marketing package as well. And on the back end, you've got this Amazon-like consumer experience where your customers are able to customize products from the comfort of their own home and really have the orders shipped directly to their door, just like any other Amazon delivery. All right, I'm going to take you through one more example. I'm going to log out of this Capturelife account here, and we're going to go back to our iPad, and this time I'm going to do a youth athletics example. This one's super cool because it's more of this product customization at the digital level that's absolutely incredible when this stuff is happening on the fly. I'm going to type in my name. This is important for this demo, this name. I'm going to, again, use an email over a phone. And I'm going to create a new email address so I get a fresh delivery. Again, I flipped the camera so we've got a horizontal picture. This time I'm going to click the button. Awesome, cool pose. Reads the file from the camera there. Okay, excellent. Got my game face on. And this time I'm going to click create awesome stuff, and we're going to see this from the youth sports photography perspective. It's going to be the same process where images shot, again, this magic connection between Capturelife, the Canon CC API. We fired the camera right from the laptop. We took this photo. The delivery is going to go right out to the phone, and we're going to have this incredible rich content that's generated. Again, if I'm a youth sports photographer at this point, I'm going to think about taking these products, and I'd actually like to sell these ahead of time at a photo shoot. You can imagine this as its own digital package, right? Where, look at that. So I've got a trader card. You saw me type in my name. That's where that TW Woodward comes from on the side. We got this super cool templates, overlays, customized TW Woodward Superstar. We've got all these different looks. You can imagine how this would look in a photo booth scenario, right? This is just another workflow that comes out of the magic of these two companies, these two the two APIs playing nicely together. So I'm going to send this in to Capturelife as well. We'll get that loaded. That's sending up to my image, to my Capturelife delivery. All right, let's go back to my email. We'll check for our delivery from Gold Photo Athletics. There it is. I'm going to view my photos. It's going to take us back into the Capturelife app, and we're going to see this, again, this elegant image delivery. There it is. Boom. Pop up from Dick's Sporting Goods, flash sale up to 50% off. This start shopping ad would go out to Dick's Sporting Goods. I've had conversation with photographers that said they can go out and make these connections with some of their local stores. Again, this is opening up your photography business to what's right around the corner and how this stuff not only works for the consumer, but 50% off coupon for Dick's sent right to your consumers is actually a tremendous benefit to them. So again, we're talking about that mobile consumer engagement and consumer experience. So when I click on this picture, you're going to notice that my phone screen went completely blank. Now, this is intended. This is actually Capturelife security system blocking what is considered premium content. In this case, as a photographer, I wanted to sell these images. Okay, I'm trying to get this so we don't get that glare. There it is. And so as you can see, it's labeled premium. The reason you're seeing my phone on my screen, this recording session, as black is because screenshot blocking has been completely disabled. Can't take a screenshot due to security policy, because now this set of rich content has been delivered right to the customer. And now in this case, it's additional content that the customer can purchase right from their phone. So I can add that to cart. I can buy all for $15.97 as a digital package, and then go through this checkout process. As you guys can see, this is a very modern mobile consumer process. Capturelife was designed from the ground up from the consumer perspective. I'm going to close by saying that the photo industry has been blamed for being slow to adapt to our changing customer. In many cases, we're still delivering the same or similar products as were delivered 100 years ago. And as the smartphone companies, and as Gary Pageau pointed out, mainly Apple, Samsung, and Google wage this camera war with smartphones, our customers' expectations of speed and quality and the consumer experience are all going to change. Ask anyone in the music industry what Apple did to them. Ask anyone in the newspaper industry what mobile is doing to them, or magazine industry. The examples are numerous. At Capturelife, we've got youth athletic photography companies that are chomping at the bit to use this system. They want to use it to sell against other companies in their area. Asked us to create a presentation that will help them make the competition feel old and outdated. And we all know that landing a league or a school is the only way to get the business. So I have a feeling that these companies with this new modern mobile message could really clean up on the competition. We've got wedding photographers that are delivering their images through Capturelife. They're ecstatic that they can use the same Canon cameras to shoot the wedding, and with a slightly modified workflow, rearrange the camera and the setting, and the same camera can be used as a photo booth scenario. And we've got, as I've been mentioning throughout this presentation, several Santa Claus photographers out in malls right now using a modified version of this workflow. They didn't require the Canon camera, the CC-API-enabled Canon camera. They're using the capture workflow today with their current cameras, whatever the brand, whatever the make, whatever the model. This all goes back to this open API platform, of course, and the Capturelife Marketplace. And what we can do together as solution providers, pro labs, software companies, camera companies, and professional photographers. We all need to work together to meet our consumers out on their mobile devices and deliver this exceptional mobile experience that our customers want. At the start of the school photo season this past fall, I asked every photographer the same question: what's your mobile digital strategy? How do you think your customer is going to change this year? And what about in 3 years? And what about in 5 years? And more importantly, what's your plan to hit this moving target? And my simple answer to all of them was, you know what, you just need to get started. All of the photographers that you heard speak today, they've started down this path. They understand that the consumer is changing, and they've all jumped on board because they realize that we need to solve this problem together. Each company is doing what they do best, and each company is concentrating on their specialty, whether that's workflow automation or print production or image extraction, graphics creation, or shooting high quality digital portraits in a high volume environment. As a photographer, you just need to get started, and together we're going to open these doors to this next version of the modern photo industry. Thank you for attending today's Virtual Users Conference. I'd like to thank all of the photographers and industry leaders for sharing their experience today. I know that they're all willing to connect with you and answer any questions. And if you picked up on anything today, I guess the most important message is we want you to get started. Jump on with us, jump on this mobile journey. Let's find out where the customer is going to be. I think together we're going to solve these issues, and together we're going to create this next version of the modern photo industry. Thank you.